powdered herbal formulas, infusions, decoctions, concentrates, poultices, fomentations, tinctures, glycerites, syrups, electuaries, liniments, salves, and balms. Are you confused by what these words actually mean? Do you have questions about what type of herbal preparation is best for your horse? If so, today's episode is for you. I am Kayla Dendy, Master Herbalist, and I'm going to demystify these words and help you understand them so you can be empowered to make the best selection for your horse. The simplest and one of the most common herbal preparations are powdered herbal formulas. Typically, these products are packaged in a foil or plastic bag. Powdered herbal formulas are actually quite effective and one of my favorite ways to administer herbs. These preparations ensure the whole herb is used and include both the active and inactive plant constituents. The downside to powdered herbal products are that once an herb is powdered, it more quickly loses its medicinal properties than other types of preparations such as tinctures. In some cases, such as garlic, the active ingredient can disappear quite quickly. Another drawback is that some powdered herbs have an off-putting smell and/or taste. Picky horses may outright refuse to eat some powdered herbal formulas for this reason. This issue may be overcome by adding some molasses to the grain, but some horses will still refuse to eat them. Additionally, dosing a horse appropriately for its body weight using powdered herbal formulas may require a relatively large amount to be fed to the horse. 1 tablespoon of an herbal formula for a 1,000-pound horse is probably not going to give you the benefit you are seeking. Herbal formula dosing is based on the weight of the horse. For example, if you consider an average human dose is commonly 1 to 3 tablespoons per day of an herbal formula, that equates to anywhere from 7 to 20 tablespoons to be fed to a horse. Keep in mind, 8 tablespoons is half a cup. So that means you could be feeding anywhere between approximately half to 1 1/4 cups each day to achieve the desired effect in the horse. I love powdered herbal formulas because you don't have to guess if the complete herb and all of its attendant benefits are included. I would not hesitate to feed a powdered formula provided my horse would eat it and not sift through the grain or outright refuse it. The best and one of the easiest herbal preparations to make is a simple infusion. The term infusion is derived from the Latin infundere, meaning to pour in. Infusion is nothing more than a fancy word for a tea. Herbal teas have been a favorite method for herbal medicine delivery for centuries. In fact, it was the preferred method of delivery of herbal remedies up until about 100 years ago, when the herbal medicine makers began to favor concentrated herbal extracts, which I will discuss later. Simple infusions are a wonderful method for the delivery of herbs because they preserve the non-active ingredients while also delivering the active ingredients. Simple infusions, or teas, can be made using either dried or fresh herbs. By definition, herbal infusions represent the solvent action of boiled water, or in some cases cold water, on herbs for a given time period. A properly prepared herbal infusion is not merely a cup of tea. This extraction process is a quick, efficient method for preparing and administering an easily assimilated herbal medicine, and they help supply water for keeping the body properly hydrated. Infusions can be made in 3 ways. The first and most common way is maceration, which is the soaking of a properly ground chopped herb in a menstruum such as water until it is thoroughly penetrated and the soluble portions are softened or dissolved. The second method is called digestion, which is maceration subjected to moderate continual heat below boiling temperature, the heat quickening the solvent powers of the menstruum. The third method is percolation, which will be discussed later. Because infusions are generally extemporaneous preparations and are frequently needed immediately, the process of maceration is the most simple, practical, and usually preferred method. Infusions should not be made in large quantities unless it is for immediate use. They are generally difficult to preserve because the herbal principles extracted by the water begin to decompose fairly quickly. Infusions soon spoil if special precautions are not taken to preserve them. Ideally, they should be used within a 12-hour period with about a 24-hour maximum limit, if stored in the refrigerator. Decoctions are liquid preparations made by boiling either fresh or dehydrated herbal substances with water or other fluids. The key distinction between a decoction and an infusion is that an infusion is not boiled. Along with infusions, decoctions are a standard method for preparing medicinal teas. Decoction is also the chief method used to extract herbal constituents for later use as fomentations, syrups, and enemas. I will discuss fomentations and syrups later on. Decoctions, from the Latin decocere, meaning to boil down or away, is normally reserved for herbs that will not yield their active virtues at a lower temperature, such as roots, barks, and some seeds. The object of preparing a decoction is to secure, in a water solution, the soluble active principles of herbs that are hard and woody and have a close, dense texture. Their tissues are softened more readily by boiling than by merely steeping in hot water. Like infusions, decoctions are intended for immediate use, ideally within a 24-hour period, with about a 72-hour maximum limit if stored in the refrigerator. As with infusions, the difficulty in preserving decoctions arises from decomposition of the starches and mucilaginous and albuminous principles that have been extracted by the water and retained in the preparation. Except when needed for immediate use, decoctions should not be made in large quantities. This spoilage time frame is why decoctions and infusions are not offered by Equine Herbal. A simple method for increasing the potency of an infusion or decoction is to prepare a concentrate. In general, this is done by using a large volume of tea or infusion, as it is easier to concentrate the brew without burning it. Concentrates are the common herbal base used to prepare syrups and fomentations. An easy method of preparing a concentrate is to place a strained and filtered infusion or decoction into a stainless steel or glass pot. Stick a chopstick straight down into the center of the liquid, touching the bottom of the pot. Withdraw the stick and make a mark at the waterline on the stick. Bring the liquid to a slow boil. Reduce the flame and gently simmer the liquid, slowly evaporating the water portion until the surface of the liquid marks a point half as high on the chopstick as the original watermark. At this point, 1/2 of the volume of the original liquid remains, rendering the concentrate double the potency of the original tea. When it marks a point 1/4 as high as the original watermark, the concentrate is considered to be 4 times the strength of the original extract, and so on until the concentrate is transformed into a tar and eventually into a powder. Classically, a poultice is a soft, mushy preparation, usually of some pulpy or mealy substance, which is capable of absorbing a large amount of liquid, and of such consistency that it can be applied to any flat or irregular surface. This herbal material is made into a paste using hot liquids and is spread thickly on cloths and applied directly to the body while hot. Poultices owe their primary virtues to the moist heat which they contain, and therefore must be renewed every few minutes or somehow kept warm by other means. In herbland, however, the scope of the term poultice has broadened and now covers a wide range of preparations, some of which are applied hot, some cold. Poultices and fomentations in their most simple form are merely baths for a specific area of the body that utilize warmth and moisture to relax tissue and relieve pain. Poultices come in the forms of emollients, medicated and counter-irritant. Emollients, which by supplying warmth and moisture, are useful for reducing pain and inflammation and assisting in the ripening and pus-generating processes. Medicated poultices, which are intended to exercise a specific influence on a part of the body, independent of warmth and moisture. These are made of any or a combination of a wide variety of medicinal plants. They are used to penetrate and reduce enlarged or inflamed glands, eruptions, abscesses, lacerations, boils, and so on. Counter-irritant poultices initiate a local irritation or inflammation to stimulate capillary dilation and action, which increases blood flow and causes skin reddening. This counter-irritation draws stagnant blood to the surface, thereby relieving deeper congestion and inflammation. These poultices also act as derivatives which draw pustular materials from the body through the skin. These poultices are made using stimulating herbs such as mustard, ginger, cayenne, garlic, and so on. Optimally, medicated herbal poultices are prepared from fresh herbs which have been chewed, chopped, mashed, bruised, or blended in an electric blender and mixed with hot water, apple cider vinegar, or some other hot liquid. A blender works well for these preparations because it is important to break up the cell walls in order to gain access to the properties contained in the plant juices. Dry or dehydrated, herbs that have been rehydrated can be used to make poultices. You can rehydrate a dehydrated herb by gently heating it in a little water, apple cider vinegar, milk, or other liquid that seems appropriate. Once the herb has absorbed the liquid and softened, it is ready to use for preparing a poultice in the same way that you would use a fresh plant. A poultice can be used again and again during each session. However, it needed to be reheated each time before applying. Remember, poultices owe their primary virtues to the moist heat they are applied with. A hot poultice should be applied as hot as can be tolerated. To test its temperature, apply it to the back of your hand. It should feel hot but comfortable. To prevent the rapid loss of heat, it is helpful to cover the poultice with a thick insulating cloth while it's on the horse. A fomentation, also known as a compress, is a form of a poultice that is composed of liquids or lotions, absorbed in woolen or cotton cloths, and usually applied hot. Cold compresses are prepared for treating some sprains and to stop bleeding. A fomentation is administered with the intent to soothe, nurse, and excite one back to health. Flannel cloths wrung out of hot liquid form the best fomentation material. In every process of fomentation, there should be 2 cloths, one flannel ready while the other is applied. After the water has been wrung out from the flannel, it should be shaken up and laid lightly over the body part. Shaking involves a considerable amount of air, which, being a poor conductor of heat transfer, retains the heat in the flannel cloth for a substantial amount of time. When selecting a material to use for applying a fomentation, the fineness or coarseness of the flannel is important to note. The coarser the material, the less readily it conducts heat, but it retains the warmth longer. It is therefore more efficient for fomentations. White flannel appears to retain heat longer than colored flannel. Any absorbent material can be used to apply a fomentation. Depending on the body part requiring assistance, you can use gauze patches, stocking caps, cotton gloves, cotton socks, and so on. The tricks for using poultices and fomentations successfully are making poultices thick, keeping them warm and moist, and allowing them adequate time to do their work. Incorporating time in any therapeutic herbal formula is valuable. Tinctures are one of the most common methods used to prepare herbal remedies. Herbal tinctures are alcoholic or water alcohol solutions prepared from fresh or dried herbs. The term tincture commonly refers to these alcohol preparations, but it is also used to refer to preparations that are vinegar, wine, or glycerin-based. The glycerin-based tinctures are more often referred to, however, as glycerites or glycerates, which I will discuss a little later on in this episode. All official tinctures are made with an alcohol and water solution or pure alcohol, the majority of herbal tinctures containing around 60% alcohol. The official definition of a tincture is stated to be a solution that contains at least 45% alcohol and has an herb to menstruum ratio of at least 1 part herb to 4 parts menstruum. Menstruum is the term used to refer to the liquid portion of the formula. When extracting dehydrated plant material, alcohol concentrations of 40 to 60% are customarily utilized according to the official instructions given in most pharmacopoeia. This range of alcohol to water varies widely among experienced herbalists. There are 2 fundamental processes for tincturing an herb: maceration and percolation. Maceration is one of the oldest methods of extraction known to herbalists. Maceration is floating time, when the alluring qualities of the liquids have their way with the herbal solids. The water and alcohols of the menstruum gently coax the constituents of the plants into solution. It is the job of the herbalist to shake the tincture routinely, thereby re-arousing the active part of the extraction process. Tinctures prepared for commercial sale must be prepared in a method referred to as weight to volume. In this method, the weight of the herb and the volume of the menstruum are measured and noted in order to produce a specific tincture strength. The relationship of the plant material to menstruum is known as the weight of herb to volume of menstruum ratio of the tincture, or tincture strength. The most commonly found tincture strengths used in commerce and in mainstream medicine are 1 to 5, 1 part herb to 5 parts menstruum, and 1 to 10, 1 part herb to 10 parts menstruum, for dry plant preparations, and 1 to 2 for fresh plant preparations. Percolation is a process of extracting the soluble constituents of an herb by the slow passage of a solvent through a column of dried powdered plant, which has been packed into an apparatus called a percolator. Percolation is sometimes called displacement, because the solvent, after becoming charged with the soluble part of the herb, is displaced by fresh portions of the solvent liquid. Percolation is completed in about 24 hours, whereas standard maceration takes at least 14 days. Percolation takes more work and concentration from the herbalist, and can be less reliable in extracting the constituents of the herbs. Tinctures have a potentially very long shelf life, with some tinctures remaining stable for 10 years or more. Tinctures, whether made by maceration or percolation, are normally more concentrated than either infusions or decoctions and therefore stronger. The dosage to be taken can be much smaller than either an infusion, decoction, or powdered herbal formulation. Glycerites, also known as glycol extracts or fluid glycerites, are mixtures of medicinal substances with glycerin. Glycerites can be easily diluted with water or alcohol and are excellent to use in place of alcohol-based tinctures for children and, in my case, horses. Glycerite's sweet flavor makes them especially appropriate for administering to children and horses, as they are very palatable. Glycerin, the sweet principle of oils, was discovered in 1789 and came into use in medicine and pharmacy around 1846. The solvent and preservative properties of glycerin, which often protect against oxidation, as well as its agreeable taste and stable consistency, render it one of the most valuable liquids known to pharmacy. It may be added to finished water alcohol extracts or used in a menstruum mixed with water, alcohol, or vinegar, or any combination of the three. Glycerites are prepared by maceration. They are shelf-stable and properly stored can last about 3 to 5 years. Like tinctures, glycerites are more concentrated than either infusions or decoctions and therefore stronger. The dosage to be taken can be smaller than infusions, decoctions, or powdered herbal formulas. The dosage depends on the herbs being used, the weight of the horse, and the condition to be addressed. A syrup is a traditional way to make herbal preparations, especially bitter sore throat and cough mixtures, more palatable for children and picky horses. Syrups are an old and favored form of administering herbal medication to be taken internally. Syrup's sweet flavors are highly palatable and they offer a pleasing appearance. Concurrently, syrup has a nutrient value as a carbohydrate, and the sugar used in making syrups can be eminently more preservative in place of alcohol or refrigeration for otherwise unstable herbal solutions. Syrups are defined as saturated solutions of sugar in pure water or in other aqueous liquids. Sugar is the preservative component. Syrups sometimes contain vinegar, honey, glycerin, and occasionally a small quantity of alcohol. In pharmacy, when distilled water alone is used in the nearly saturated solution with sugar, the distinctive term simple syrup is applied. When the solution contains various aromatic or pleasant-tasting syrup, it is called a flavored syrup. And when the sugar solution contains soluble principles from various medicinal plants used as therapeutic agents, it is called a medicated syrup. Medicinally, syrups can be divided into two general groups. The first group, flavored syrup, are used chiefly as vehicles for carrying and improving the taste of preparations of medicinal agents, for example, peppermint, blackberry fruit, or cherry syrup. The second group, medicated syrups, are prepared to access their intrinsic medicinal ingredients and are used as therapeutic agents, for example, garlic, marshmallow, horehound, black cohosh, and senna syrup. Syrups, properly prepared and stored, can last for a long time. Air and heat are far more detrimental to the stability of sugar solutions than diffused light, but direct sunlight should always be avoided because of the heat transmitted by the sun. An electuary, more commonly referred to these days as a confection or conserve, is a delivery vehicle that has been prepared by mixing an unpleasant-tasting, finely powdered herb with honey, sometimes including a little sugar or fruit pulp, creating a sweetened and flavored mass that can be molded into portions about the size of a marble suitable for oral administration. When made with honey or the addition of glycerin, electuaries retain their original soft condition for a long time. If made with fruit pulp, the moisture gradually evaporates and the mass becomes dry and hard. A liniment is a preparation that is thinner than a salve that is made to be rubbed on the skin. Liniments are compounded and extracted like tinctures, using vinegar, ethyl alcohol, or denatured rubbing alcohol as a menstruum. Liniments are prepared exclusively for external purposes. Depending on the menstruum and the herbs, a liniment is employed for various purposes: to draw to warm to dry an area of the skin, to disinfect cuts and wounds, to help heal wounds, bruises, sprains, burns, and sunburns, as an anodyne to soothe strained muscles and ligaments, or to work as a counter-irritant. Salves, also called ointments, are semi-solid fatty herbal mixtures normally prepared as external healing mixtures. They soften when applied to the skin and provide a healing, emollient, protective, nourishing, or counter-irritant effect. Salves can vary in consistency from greasy to thick and hard, depending on the base used, the elements mixed together, and the purpose intended for its production. A balm is simply a salve that contains a relatively high amount of volatile oils. Upon application, it delivers a notably intense cloud of aromatic vapors. The base for most salves is a mixture of a wax and a fixed oil, usually mixed or infused with medicinal plant substances. The oil enhances the absorption of the medicinal substances into the skin, and the wax gives firmness to the finished salve for ease of application. Often, essential oils and/or other solid or liquid materials are incorporated during the salve-making process. Body heat melts the wax, and the oil fosters quick absorption of the plant's medicinal constituents into the skin. I hope this episode has demystified herbal preparations and has given you the information necessary to help you decide which herbal preparation is right for your horse. If you found this episode helpful, please like, share, follow, or subscribe. You can find this episode on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Rumble, and YouTube. If you have questions about herbs, herbal preparations, or how herbal formulations can help your horse live his or her best life, give me a call at 970-596-7443.